probably should turn the light on. Can see how untidy my study is at the moment.
Hi, Sue.
Hi, Mary.
I can hear you. You sound great.
You should know what I sound like after all my talking in my presentation.
Yes, I've watched it several times too.
Poor you.
Sorry, I need to mute. Sorry about that, Judith. Sorry, I had two going. I was hearing Judith. She's starting her talk, her Q&A from her talk. It's hard. I want to see everything, don't you?
Exactly. That's why the catch-up ones have been really good, because I watched them all today. Like, I got to bed about 2 o'clock this morning, and I was thinking, oh, all right, I'll wake up whenever. And I actually woke up at 8 o'clock, which I know
perfect.
But I'd had, according to my watch, I'd actually had an hour and a half of deep sleep, which is more deep sleep than I've had for a long time.
Nice.
So I actually felt all right.
Awesome.
So, good.
Well, credit the crabs.
You see how green my sub is at the moment?
Mine is too. You can't really tell from this angle, but yeah, the sunlight coming in, is that your issue?
Yeah. So I've got a double glass door, and I usually have the curtains open just to let the light in. I mean, there's a big window behind, but I don't open those curtains at all.
Yeah, there's been a lot of debate. I leave it until I can't take it anymore. Then if I know no one's down there, I usually just rub right against the glass. And oh yeah, trail.
They're down. I haven't seen either of the adults since April.
Well, and it's cold weather for you now, right? So
it's winter, but I mean, I still haven't got a jumper on, and it's midnight.
Yeah,
I haven't had a jumper on all day. So the last couple of nights though have been very cold. So Christy, what do you want to know?
We are still waiting on several people. Kelsey, are you going to come on screen? I think it's easiest if everyone can. I think maybe you had issues and couldn't. Helena's coming. Hi. Who else do we have? Dan.
Hi.
should probably be coming. Moa's coming. Yay, the gang's all here. The breeding gang. Tammy, I believe, was going to attempt to get on camera with us. So let me just adjust mine a little. So we should have a full complement. Hi, Moa.
Hi.
Hey, Helena, I'll turn the main light on.
I've only got the one light here. I'm in the dark.
Oh, it's fine.
It's mood lighting.
It is.
When I was chatting with Helena earlier tonight, and I just had this light on, I had the main light off, and so I was sort of,
let me check who else we are waiting on, just because I'm having trouble keeping it all straight. Stacy Bolts was having issues. She had storms overnight, and her internet was knocked out. They said they couldn't get there till this afternoon. I have a private message. Let me see who that is.
Stacey's here, Mary, but she's using her phone, she says.
Who is?
Stacey.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, great. So she'll be here for typing.
Yeah.
Oh, that message was from you, Helena. All right. So anyone who wants to ask us questions should be in the sessions chat stream. And I don't know if Dan is going to be here, but if he pops in, we'll just go from there. So what I wanted to do was we'll just go clockwise and just, introduce ourselves. Most people know, say what species you've attempted or successfully attempted, or however many times, like whatever you want your information to be. So Mary Akers started in 2017, realizing there was a thing of mating and eggs. I guess I found that out in 2016, tried in 2017, succeeded in 2018 and 2019. I've had more than 1,000 come to land. They've all been Clypeatus. I thought at first I had some Compressus, but I didn't. And then this new batch are mysterious, and we don't know. We're hoping probably either Viola or Perlatus are the best guesses, but I'm hoping to get help identifying them from you, Moa, especially when I get some good close-ups. So Sue, you wanna go next?
Sue Brown, I'm from Australia. I had an attempt in January 2016. Yeah, 2016. And then again in December 2016. Wasn't successful in the first go. And the second go, I got 26 to land. And out of those, I have 2 left that are now 3.5 years old. I didn't even know I had a crab with eggs until I saw stuff in my salt pool. And I went, oh, my Lord. So
what now?
I'll find this out in my talk tomorrow morning.
Which is wonderful, by the way. Yeah. I had a sneak peek. Elena, you want to introduce yourself?
So I have had an attempt in 2019 and the start of this year as well. I wasn't successful with my 2 attempts, but I'm hoping, as I learn more from you guys, I'll get closer to getting some success. But that's with Aussies. And the strawberries have been displaying mating, wanting to mate, and one of them just walks off halfway through, so it hasn't gone anywhere yet.
You got to Megalopa, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I was thinking that transition is so hard for so many people getting past that. Moa?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Good. I got babies first in 2011, and after that I lost my female, and now I have several females who get babies all the time, or eggs at least. I haven't been able to get them further than their first molt. But I hope to succeed in the future.
Are yours rugosus? Is that
Yes.
what, or brevimanus? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had, did you have brevimanus eggs too, or
Not
that
eggs.
was maybe brood?
Mating behavior, but not eggs yet.
Gotcha. Tammy, if you want to type and introduce, you can. If I know you're struggling, she said she was struggling to get on camera. We can also wait and just, you know, put her on the spot then. Sorry, just kidding. We won't make you. So yeah, maybe we can look at the questions. Scroll down. I will pin questions to the top if I think someone hasn't seen it. So also check the top. Kelsey, you should come on screen. You should. None of us are presentable. Here, I'll mess my hair up. How's that? Okay.
So we're not looking pretty either.
Come on in the dark. Just let us hear your voice. You can, if you don't want to be on camera, but you're okay to speak, you can come on and stop your video and we'll still hear you. That's an option for anyone who is camera shy. So mating season for hermit crabs. Well, Regan, that depends on the species in my experience. I think the folks down under see it. Do you see it in the warmer months, right?
Yeah, we do. So for my ones in particular, it's November until April.
Yeah.
That's the mating season.
Well, I sort of sometimes October, November.
Yeah.
And I will say the summer storms tend to be when ours decide to release their eggs.
Yeah.
Both of my lots were released on very stormy, hot, humid, lightning everywhere nights. And Natalie from South Australia has said the same thing with hers. She had all the eggs were released during stormy evenings.
Yeah, that happened with my first lot. It was on a stormy night that the first lot were released. And then the most recent attempt was halfway between a week of storms. So it was, I think it's that activity in the atmosphere, maybe.
It's probably a safer time in the wild to spawn.
Yeah.
If you think about it, you know.
Yeah.
My clypeatus are very reliable. September and October, I usually get 2 spawns out of them. So sometimes the end of August, but usually the breeding happens at the beginning of August and the spawning happens in September. And then there's a second wave in October. And I've had that for 4 years now, very reliably. I don't know about the exotics because they're just starting to get comfortable. I've had straw mating behavior. I had it starting, interestingly enough, I had it starting in what would be the warm months for you all, like January, but was very cold here. So I just wonder if they're still sort of on this schedule, even though they're in the Northern Hemisphere now and very far north. But in yours, Moa, is there a it's all the time, right?
All the time. I have no specifics. They always do it.
That was the sense I got.
All year round.
Stacy Bolts, I believe, she gets mostly Ecuadorian eggs, as far as I know, and those I think are just like sort of like your rugosus, Moa. They're just like all the time. She's all the time going, "Oh my God, I've got Zoe! You just had Zoe." Yes, I know. How many compresses do you have, Stacy? That would be interesting because I only have 2, and so I don't have that opportunity. I don't think. Yeah, there's a lag a little bit. I pinned a question to the top. You guys can be thinking about if you have answers.
I'm a long way from having strawberry eggs strawberries to land because I don't even have any yet. They're about $80 over here.
Oh, yeah, they're so expensive. Yeah,
Why
mine
is
were
that?
99.
Are they
Dunno,
protected?
they are
Yes.
protected with a limited import. Every 4 years, they're allowed to distribute, I think it's 100 strawberry hermit crabs
Not
throughout
many.
Australia, and that's it.
I
Do
have
you have to
seen
get on a list?
straws in the wild though on Lady
Oh,
Ellie's
that'd be
Island.
cool.
That was awesome. And they were in
Wow.
and around the roots of the she oak trees.
Oh, really?
Yep, that's where they were hiding,
How far in?
on an island, the very southernmost island of the Barrier Reef. They were probably 100 metres from the beach, from the,
Oh, wow.
and
Super
it's
close.
very,
Okay.
Lady Elliot Island's very coarse coral sand. There's no white soft silica sand. It's all just crushed coral. There's and even the land where the trees grow is very well drained, and you wouldn't think, I think the straws there don't burrow so much because there's no way known that it would hold tunnels or anything like that. So I think they actually go into the hollows in amongst the, like, the trees have lots of roots, and they go up in under the trees. And in hollows of trees, there were 8, 9, 10 of them in one hollow in one tree. It was all these straws. I think, oh, I wanted to put them in my bag and take them home.
I had a very large straw like that with shell about that big that was donated last year to the breeding program, and he molted in the moss pit. I mean, he had 12 inches of sand, but I had an elevated moss pit. Successfully, nobody bothered him. He had a good molt. He ate all his exo. It was really interesting. I was worried. I thought, I kept peeking every couple days, and that seemed to be where he was most comfortable.
You've got
So you may have something,
Lana?
and maybe the bigger they are, the harder even to find a good underground space. I don't know. I don't know how close I am getting them to land. I have them mating. I've had them mating before. The problem seems to be, for me, the spawning. The straws that I have never gotten the Zoe into the water, and I haven't been able to find them. And I think I've had maybe three times with eggs. It's my personal philosophy to make the crabs do their part. I'm not going to find them and stick them in the water. I want this to be a cooperative effort, and maybe that sounds woo-woo and silly, but I'm not trying to breed them in that sense. If they gift me with eggs and they hatch and they're viable, I want to help them make their babies survive. But it is a misnomer in my case to say, and probably all our cases, to say we're breeding crabs. We're not. The crabs are breeding. They're giving us babies. Then we either flush them, pour them down the sink, or give it our best shot.
Yeah.
Pull out our hair going, oh my God, what are we going to do? That's why I'm grey.
I hear you. So let's see if there are other questions.
What do you feed McDreamy, Elena?
Pardon?
What do you feed McDreamy?
Oh my goodness. Everything. He is the one that gets all of the food, and everyone else has to just sort of get the scraps. But he goes nuts for anything, any flowers. So dandelions, roses, got hibiscus, all that sort of stuff, goes crazy for it. But he also loves mushrooms and what's the other thing that he loves? Liver, of all things. I dehydrate liver, and he goes crazy. Yeah, I know. I know.
I think that's what
my big male loves duck liver. Loves it.
Yeah.
I have freeze dried, and if there's a chunk, he sneaks it or tucks it into his pants, or Here you come, Tammy. You're coming.
Sorry.
We see you.
I'm so sorry. We're technologically challenged here.
Well, I think you're not alone. We were all struggling. I asked Dan if he would come on. Oh, forgot to hit send. Dan, if you can come on, then we'll have all 6. And Kelsey, you're still welcome to join if you can figure it out. It'll just keep adjusting us.
I'm getting
So-
feedback from you, Mary.
It's not me. I closed that. I did have some going, but I have since closed it. So it's not me. But if
All right.
anyone has another tab open and you can hear something, you might be getting that coming through your speaker and coming into ours. But since we did the intros, Dan and Tammy, would you all mind just saying a little bit about, your attempt or success and when it was and what species?
Sure. I mean, do you want to go first, Dan? You go right ahead.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Last year, I had my strawberries, and just randomly, a few days before CrabCon, I happened to see my biggest male Mephistopheles on top of one of the females, and I was like, oh, I believe they're mating. So I posted that to Mary on the, I forget what page it was, but she was like, yes, that's what it appears like. And I checked, and I had eggs, and it happened to be just before CrabCon. So then I took the female Abby up to Mary in order to help her along with her breeding process. So Mary actually has Abby now. And then after Con, we got several more matings, which Mephistopheles was mating with one of the females, and they actually successfully spawned in water, which I'll go now on YouTube and try to find that picture, and because I caught an awesome video of it, so I'll post.
It's incredible.
And that was just my thing, and I'm like, oh my God, I have these strawberry zoea. I'm totally not prepared. Mary, help, what do I do? And she gave me assistance trying to get a makeshift setup, and I believe they lasted maybe 7 to 10 days before I lost them all.
Watch my video, Dan. That's exactly what I'm all about.
Yeah, but I'll pop now and find those videos, and I actually have a few, I think, of the strawberry zoea in the water as well. So I'll pop off quick and put the links in the chat.
Okay. And Tammy?
Well, I had been trying for years and years with varied levels of success and always ended up losing them. And then finally in 2009, I had what I thought were Cenobita purpureus, and it turned out actually that they're C. lila. And I was successful with them first in February, and then had my Clypeatus that I was successful with that summer. So it was definitely a challenge. And
Several dozen.
Pardon me?
Several dozen successful of each, right?
Yeah, but that isn't that many really when it's all said and done. Not enough to do it commercially.
More than my
Right.
2 I got left.
But it was so difficult. It was super time consuming. Obviously it was a labor of love, but not one that I was ready to do after that, because it was just it was impractical to do, along with owning a business and having a life and all that.
Yeah. One of the things I think that it is hard to convey, and since we have people watching, we have 32 in here who are, I'm assuming, are interested in giving it a go. I think one of the parts of it that is, that we don't talk about because, well, for the obvious reason probably, is the emotional toll it takes.
Yeah.
I think you can all agree there's this constant, you're just trying so hard to keep them alive, trying to figure out what they need, what you're doing wrong. Is this right? Is that right? And it goes on and on and on. I mean, it goes on for a month or more, depending on the species. Plus the physical toll of changing water and, you know, just being there for all the food changes. So that's not to dissuade anyone. It's just to prepare you. You think you're prepared. You think you understand the toll. Am I right? Like, back me up, folks.
Yeah.
The highs are highs and the lows are lows.
Good,
Even
good.
I could not even fathom doing it for as long as you guys have to. Our guys spend about 2 weeks in the water, and that's way long.
That's enough, right?
So grateful for that.
Yeah.
And you want to give them everything. So you really try. Sorry, Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, it was just difficult, especially, I mean, for everything that you learned from Mary with everything that she posts and help, like, until you actually try to do it yourself and you're in there sucking out all the zoea from the dirty water, trying to pick them out, and eyedropper them in one at a time into another container. It's hours upon hours. And plus, like with me, I have a regular 8-hour-a-day job. So you're trying to do your normal work, figure out your time to try to feed them and do the water changes. And it's like, well, I never tried this before. I would love to do it first shot, but I'm going to give it my best until there's nothing more to give. And it's just kind of depressing when you go through that for weeks and there's nothing, and then it's just done.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that's hard. The failures are, they're not failures. I hate to even call them failures because it all advances the pool of knowledge. It takes us farther. But it feels like a failure when you're the one that's doing it and attempting it. And yeah, just be kind to yourself because we're all learning and we're all experimenting and trying. One of the things with my multiple attempts that I've come to think is the one of the main issues in the early deaths is not removing the molts from the water. If you're trying to keep hundreds or more, and they go through a shed, and all of those sheds are then drifting through the water and fouling the water, they're largely invisible to the naked eye unless you've got a very strong light. And I think that's also why a traditional Kreisel doesn't work, because it has that filter, that filter screen, and those sheds are so light and they're so, they collect and they clog it, and then you have issues. And so this is the next thing for us to figure out from my point of view. Does someone have something playing in their background that their speaker is picking up
I think
that
it's
you can mute?
Dan's microphone keeps going green.
Oh, mine does?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder.
Another tab open playing or something in the background, or television or something?
That's actually down. Let me check. Maybe from YouTube.
Oh, probably. Thank you. It's not a deal breaker, but it is distracting.
Yeah, there's an air conditioner next to me. I wonder maybe the air from that might be humming.
Voices.
Yeah.
Let me mute you. Don't take offense. I'll mute you and I'll see if it goes away. that goes away for me. You guys, I don't think it matters for you because you have to mute him yourself. But yeah, it's definitely something on your end, Dan. I've unmuted you, so we can troubleshoot if you want, or
Okay.
a phone or computer or something.
Yeah, there's like nothing playing here. Like there's no audio. Just I have a air conditioner on in the window, right?
Okay, that's all right. We'll soldier on. I'm hearing myself, I think, echoed back from your, you have different speakers from your webcam or something and they're picking them up. But anyway, who would like to take the question, how does the swimming ability of newly hatched larvae compare to larval shrimps and true crabs? Does anyone have an answer for that? Well, I can sort of address it. Not necessarily about larval shrimps and true crabs, but those first, so Clypeatus are the ones I'm most familiar with, and those very first larvae to me swim like mosquito larvae. They're very jerky. They're not particularly good at what they do. They're just kind of getting through the water and staying afloat. As they go through different stages, as they get swimmerets and other appendages, and just learn, I guess, they get a lot more adept. They will avoid my siphon. They will go after food. I can tell they're much more purposeful, but the very first day, they don't know what they're doing. They're just learning. And some of this will be obvious in Tammy's wonderful video too. I think you have some beautiful close-ups of the changing structures.
Yeah.
Then maybe that's an explanation.
The Aussies can't swim at all, and if you turn the air off, they will just sink to the bottom and they will die.
Yeah, I saw that too. So they'll sink to the bottom and they do that little mosquito wriggle to sort of get themselves floating again. But that's as far as they sort of go with swimming until they reach megalopa, and that's where they become, determined to do what they do, and they look for shells. Yeah.
Or the Superman swim where they're just,
Yeah, the megalopa are the cutest.
They are.
Well, another thing that I discovered that really increased my success rate was, unfathomably to me, the stage 5 were attacking brutally and cannibalizing the megalopa. Now you would think the megalopa with claws would be completely equipped to fight back, but all those dangly bits, or maybe they're just soft or a little paralyzed after that incredible molt. But I learned to, on days when megalopa were starting to transition, I would turn the light on, I would feed them, and within a half an hour, boom, 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 they're everywhere. They change color, they're swimming differently, so they're very easy to find. And when I did my water change, instead of avoiding them, I picked out all the megalopa as I saw them change, right up into the siphon, into the wastewater. Then I moved them into the transition tank. They weren't cannibalizing each other, which is what all the things I've read was happening with megalopa. It was a stage 5 that were eating or just killing. And that may be a resource competition thing, like babies trying to outcompete each other. If you can kill the one that gets the shell before you, maybe. I'm not sure what they're doing, but that was a huge change for me in terms of successes that I started having after I realized that. You guys had that same revelation?
Well, with mine,
I saw you nodding.
It was the megalopa for me that would cannibalize the stage 5. And of course, megalopa will go after each other as well.
And I didn't see that. That's what I thought. That's what I learned. That's what I was prepared for. I saw them fighting. It took me probably 2 attempts to realize that the fighting was not the megalopa, in my case, being eaten, doing the eating. It was the ones being eaten. So
interesting.
We found like the Aussies don't eat until they turn to megalopa. They don't eat anything at all. And then they eat each other in preference to just about anything I tried. They much prefer each other. The only thing I found that worked was, I can't remember now. It was a very fine grain, beta powder,
What
which
is it?
was soft, but it sunk. Beta fish food?
Oh, beta. Okay.
I was thinking pellets for
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you try that, Helena, or did you not get to
I
that stage?
did. So what happened with mine was the stage 2 were often grabbing hold of the stage 1s that hadn't quite transitioned yet. And if any megalopa were still and eating, the stage 2 would grab a hold, and I would find that the soft part, at the back of the head, don't know the sciencey word there, but that part would end up getting nibbled by the stage 2s. So I found them to be a little bit more aggressive, and the megalopa would eat the sinking pellets. Yeah.
Did you try any other food?
Yes, I tried the Nanochloropsis, I think it's called. It's an algae, and I seem to get, a stronger molt from each of the stages because I added that almost straight away. And, yeah, it seemed to make them stronger.
I haven't been able to find that here.
Yeah,
Is that a live algae or is that more of a fish flake?
it's live.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mentioned that in my talk for simpler methods because it's food for them. It also helps to oxygenate the water better, and it helps to use up nitrates. So I think there's a ton of advantages to it. I added it every day. I got that tip from Daniela in Germany, who had 24, which was this huge success. So I was inspired to try that. I culture it now. I don't know if you can see it. It's in between the two tanks. It's kind of washed out, but it's just a big beer growler. And I buy Mercer of Montana brand Nanochloropsis because I like it. It's very pure. They ship it quickly. And then you can buy a culture, an aquatic fertilizer, and they tell you how to do it. And you just keep it warm and keep it lit, and then you have a ton. I mean, you can buy it, but it's expensive to keep buying it if you're adding it every day, because when you're changing water out, you're also pulling out the Nanochloropsis, which you don't want to do, but, yeah.
Well, that's
I'm glad you found it was helpful, Elena.
Yeah, it was really good. There was only one spot that I could find it at, and I was lucky to get it when I did.
I'm guessing if you could find it powdered, you could culture it powdered eventually, like by adding it to salt water.
Yeah.
Just an option. Tammy, you were going to say something?
Oh, one of my biggest problems was following the water with different food sources. So that would be a great way to avoid that problem, because you have then.
What I did is I fed and then left it for about half an hour, and then I did the water change after that.
Yeah.
So I fed about half an hour before I did each water change. So therefore I was getting a lot of the excess food out. Because once they started eating, they scoff stuff up really quickly, and half an hour was generally enough, and they sort of finished and they were doing other stuff. And so then I did the water changes, and that tended to work fairly well for me.
I think I got that tip from you, Sue. I do the same. I feed them, and then I would wait about a half hour and do a water change. A lot of the things I fed would suspend for a certain amount of time, but eventually would fall to the bottom, even in the chrysal. And so I would just take my little siphon and try to get what I could out of there.
I started doing
but I mean, we're all experimenting. Who was that, Moa? What was that?
I do the same thing now because you told me to
and then change too.
Word is spreading.
That's how it works, right? Share the knowledge.
It was the same here as well. Like basically whatever Mary said, I did or tried to.
But don't forget to experiment, because you'll improve on my methods by doing that.
Yeah, it was just, I was totally taken away by it, and I had to do a makeshift thing in mason jars in a 10-gallon aquarium, and I basically had no idea. I saw them right before I left for work, so I shut off my filters. I kept the bubbler on in my saltwater pool, and I'm like, well, I got to go to work. I'll try to deal with this when I get home. So then I had to run and buy quick supplies and rig stuff up. So it was definitely totally unprepared on my part, because Mary was supposed to have all my eggs.
I can totally
I
sympathise.
tried.
Dan, mine stayed in the tap pool for probably 2 days at least. Then I don't even know if it was longer than that, because I don't know how long they'd been there before I noticed them.
Yeah, but I'm not seeing any activity really with the strawberries. I did see a purple in a strawberry, which appeared to be mating the other day, but I don't know for sure. And I was like, that's very strange, but that tank has been totally bizarre this whole year. Like, nobody's up from molts, and unlike the last 2 years I've had them.
How do you have a sense? I know you had a filter going, Dan, when you first noticed the Zoe, but like, because strawberry perlatus eggs are so large, do you have a good sense for how many Zoe you ended up with, even maybe accounting for the filter?
I'm trying to think when I caught them, because I wasn't sure how long they were in there, because uh, I I checked on them right before work, and I was like, whoa, there's 2 strawberries in there. Wait, why is the one holding? And when I saw the light and I saw all the little Zoea, I was like, oh my God, oh my God. So then I would say I had maybe 1,000 total when I started. So I don't know how many of those may have got sucked up into the filter beforehand, but I don't know, maybe I started with 8,000. I really don't know. But their eggs appear rather large, though. Well, you saw the ones
Huge,
Abby had.
huge compared to Clypeatus.
Yes.
So Darcy asked a question. Can you give an estimate in cost to bring babies to land? I want to hear what other people say. I don't want to answer that.
I've already answered in the chat. I reckon my setup cost me about $50.
Yeah, I mean, I had my 10-gallon aquarium, which I think we got from a rescue, so that was free. Air pump, a couple mason jars, salt water, a heat thing for inside the actual 10-gallon aquarium. That might have been $10, $15, but I'm probably similar $50 to attempt it. What I think was more expensive is buying all of the nano, and then I know like brine shrimp eggs in order to hatch them. I think that's where most of your expenses will be.
So you got water from the ocean, didn't you?
For my first attempt, yeah, because I've been using ocean water in my habitat to start with, and I figured that was what they'd spawned into. That was what they'd survived for 2 and a bit possible days in the tap. So I kept on doing that. The second lot, I used ocean water until about halfway through, and then I changed because it was just getting too difficult to keep the ocean water up, because it's a half-hour trip each way. And I changed to Red Sea salt. I think, no, instant ocean. Yeah, no, Red Sea salt was I changed to. But but the first time I changed, I only did a third change, so they had a third synthetic and 2/3 ocean. One of the jars, though, I did a total change, or probably a greater than 50% change, and they nearly all died. I don't know if it was that or if it was something or other else, but I lost nearly all of the ones in that jar that had it. But it could have just been that it had a big water change in one go, and I should have done smaller amounts. I don't know. There was so much that I didn't know, so much that
And we
I
questioned
tried.
everything, right?
And yeah, but the ocean water was the first lot. I don't think because I'm now only using synthetic, and that's working fine in both my tanks. So I don't think I'd bother with ocean water again. But as I said, that was what they'd started with, so I figured that would have all the stuff that they needed. So I kept going with it until I couldn't be bothered anymore.
Well, for the simpler methods that I did my talk around, I don't know, that maybe is $200 value of stuff, not counting maybe the salt. I used a lot of old things that I already had on hand to try and make it as simple as possible, like a scrungy old 10-gallon tank. And but for my large scale attempts that I've been doing, I've spent thousands. And that's probably poor planning on my part, over planning, trying too many things, you know, buying every food that could conceivably be eaten by them just to try and cover all the bases. Once I get it down, I think it'll be a lot less. Anybody else want to weigh in on that one?
I'd say mine was
Cost?
probably 50 to 100 because I did it such small scale, you know, using plastic crab habitats and air stones that I bubbled using pumps, and, you know, tried different foods, different, you know, fish flakes. And so I didn't spend a fortune on mine.
I can ask you this after your talk, but I'm super curious. I can't wait. How did you get that incredible microscope footage? Can you just explain that?
Basically, I just had a camera, and we bought a special attachment that hooked up to my microscopes, and it was a special microscope camera, I guess.
So you put the individual under the microscope, and then
Right. I spent hours under the microscope, so I have like hours and hours and hours of footage. So yeah.
I can't imagine. But you picked the best ones for sure.
Well, thank you
for your
very
talk.
much. You gave me the impetus to put it all together finally.
It's I am so thrilled it's out there. I'm trying to look at other questions. If anyone else sees a question they want to answer, feel free. I'm just going to scroll for a minute.
I've just recently bought this. It was on sale at
you're answering some questions.
and it just plugs into the USB on the computer. It's got a light. Hang on. Oh, I haven't charged it. It's got LED lights, and it's a microscope type thing. I haven't actually used it yet. I've only literally just bought it. But that was for hopefully to get better photos of my crabs.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a Celestron. I don't know, can you see that? Oh, it's in reverse, isn't it?
I tried that guy. I couldn't make it work, but I'm
10
not very
to
technically savvy.
digital microscope.
Tammy, there's a question for you that I pinned over to the top of the chat.
Actually, I didn't have the success that Mary has had. I had basically like 27, I think, Clypeatus, and I transferred 45 C. lila originally to my sea to land transition tank. But I think I ended up with like 21 or 28 of those. I can't remember. I don't have them on my notes right off the bat. But just a very small number, whereas Mary's had vast success, which is neat because, you know, she'll have the ability to really impact the commercial market if she wants to do that.
If we get buyers, if we get people, you know, adopters, sorry, if we get people who sign up. Otherwise, I'm stuck with 1,000 babies. And
no harm in that.
I'll take some.
I wish I could. Darcy asked, do we have a list of must-have materials? I think that's a great question. Anyone?
Lots of time and patience.
Definitely.
Lots of air, so that you've still got some left when you pulled it all out.
I think Stacey
Right.
Bowles answered that. That
Oh,
question.
did she? I'm having a hard time getting through the scrolls in the right order. It's also answered in my talk. I have a list of minimum materials in my talk, which is later today at noon. So if you want to catch that, you have your pen and write it down.
I mentioned
Rutherford, I've had this question before. I'm sorry, Sue, go ahead.
I just say in my talk tomorrow night, or tomorrow morning, sorry, I mentioned some basic needs and got some pictures of some stuff, so people might like to check that as well. How to do it on a budget.
How many did you keep in your jars?
In my what?
How many, Zoe, did you keep in your jars? Did you restrict the number, or did you just put whatever you had in there?
I put all of them into one jar to start with. I just basically tipped the pool into that jar. Then I siphoned probably about half of them out into a second jar. And then the next day I took probably 200 or so out and put into a third jar. But I have no idea how many I had. There were thousands, I would say, because the water was thick with swimmy things. But the numbers dropped fairly quickly. And I did a few things totally wrong and learnt big time by mistakes. But
that's also why it's good to have a couple jars, right?
Yeah,
one jar died, you still got more.
Exactly.
Curls
sort of
in Germany had always. Girls in Germany had always said no more than 50 in her Kreisel. And so I was just asking that question. Did you, Tammy, did you like try to keep them all alive, or did you try to start with a fewer number?
I hatched as many as I could possibly hatch. With the sea lila, I caught the female actually early in the morning, and she was beginning to hatch some of her eggs and dump them in the sand. So unfortunately, I was only able to intercept a small number of hers. But yeah, I would always try to hatch as many as I possibly could, because it's kind of an odds, you know, you're playing the odds.
For sure. There was a question about anyone has tried feeding rotifers. I've had that question before. I've thought about it. I haven't done it. Anybody else tried rotifers?
No.
What are they?
I don't know. They're another small copepod, right? Maybe Moa knows. What's a rotifer? Do you know, Moa?
No. No, I don't.
You know, describe it. I thought this was
Baby brine
just
shrimp,
like another
yes,
small
but rotifers.
Yeah, I've fed baby brine shrimp.
No, mine didn't like brine shrimp at all.
Brine shrimp is not an easy thing for them to eat necessarily, so I definitely supplemented with other things like zooplankton. I would take powdered zooplankton and phytoplankton and mix a little bit of salt water to kind of turn it into a liquid slurry, and then drop that in the water. and then do water changes after they had had a chance to feed.
Yeah, I did that too. I found it actually really helpful to put a lot of live Artemia in at night, so I could turn the light off and forget about them, and they could still feed, and it wouldn't be food that was going to foul the water necessarily. It's living food. I think it's good for them to practice hunting and catching their own food. And I found that I could add, 1 millimeter or milliliter pipette in there, like 5 of those. And in the morning, I saw almost no brine shrimp, but I saw a lot of really orange bellies. So that helped a lot. I didn't do that on day 1, usually because I didn't have time to hatch the brine shrimp and have them ready. But by day 2 or 3, usually by day 3, I was doing that. And it seemed to make a big difference. And I also did, like you, Tammy, I did the phytoplan and the gonio power, which is a zooplankton. I did marine snow at night too, because that I figure either the Artemia will eat that or the Zoe will. And it's fairly, I think it's mostly inorganic material, so I didn't worry too much about that. And we have about 10 minutes left. So and this has been recorded. So anyone who's watching this or wants to tell someone else who missed it, when we get playbacks enabled, you will be able to see this to get your information again. Yep, there is the schedule of maintenance. I have that in my talk. I tried to do everything it's a super simple talk. It's not gorgeous like anybody else's, but it's very much broken down, the simplest, detailed prescription of everything. And I didn't follow that 100%, but I know people like a roadmap. They like a simple roadmap. So I just tried to distill it all into something that I think will work if that's all you can do. And you may not have the huge success rate, but I think you should have some amount of success. So yeah, that will be in my talk in just a half hour. I better go soon. Collect myself. Jessica asked about testing the water levels for nitrogen. I don't know about the rest of you guys. It was all, yes, when I could, it was all I could do to do what I knew I had to do. If I was worried about it, it was always easier just to do a quick water change than it was to try and measure and adapt. And I could tell, like, they would get sluggish or they would drop to the bottom. Like I followed their cues. If they looked like they were not happy, I tried to make them happy. And the fastest way to do that was to do a partial water change. Anyone else measure for nitrogen?
Intuition, Mary.
I like that.
In my first attempt, I did test the water, but I'm terrible with that water chemistry and all that, and I had no idea what I was doing. So I figured, I'd follow, the water makeup that I'm used to following, and I changed the water 1/3 at a time every 6 to 8 hours, depending on their activity. And if there was a mass molt, I'd have to change that water, much sooner than what I was used to, just to get them through it. Because you do see that once that water starts to foul, they slow down. It's not nice.
I think we're set off they don't eat for a couple of days.
Ways to inspire them to spawn in the salt water. I have, I think it depends on your crab, Darcy. I have also had to learn when I have a couple of Clypeatus that love to spawn in the freshwater, and my freshwater pool is a tank that is cycled, and I really don't want to. It's just horrible when I get 10,000 eggs in there that start to stink. So I've learned to cover the fresh water, which deters them from that, pushes them to the salt water. I personally have found, now this may be completely different for species or just personal crab preference, I found that fresh water, freshly mixed salt water makes a difference. Warmer temperatures make a difference. And I actually have had the most success putting one of those little 78-degree heaters in my saltwater pool. I don't think it's necessary for the Zoe, but I think it encourages the female to say, "Oh, this is nice warm water," or to not go, "Ah," you know. And it didn't. I thought it would zap the Zoe in there. They hit it. That doesn't kill them. So those are the things that I found. Anybody else? Sue says a storm. Let's have a storm for it.
I just basically check my females, and I would, when they're getting close to ready to hatch, eggs would loosen, and I would find them on the carapace, and then I would, kind of play, try to hatch them in salt water and test whether or not they're viable at that point. And I would find females that would, of course, hatch in the freshwater dish, unfortunately, and the saltwater dish, but.
Yeah, no.
The guy in Taiwan.
Sorry, you go. That's okay.
I was just going to say the guy in Taiwan who is doing rugosis right now puts his female in a plastic bin that she can't get out of that has maybe only that much water, and she spawned in that. So go ahead, Helen.
So with my first attempt, my female had dumped on the sub. So it was in the food dish, on a cork ramp that I had leading into the salt pool. And I was like, what do I do? So I ended up hatching them, popping them in the salt water, and they were fine. With my other attempts, I've seen the girl go straight into the salt pool. The girl that has the most babies, Laurel, she often sits on the side of the salt pool just before it's time to release them. So I know, around that 27, 28-day mark, I need to make fresh water to make sure that she's going to definitely go in that salt pool. So otherwise, she could dump it on the sub again.
And the one thing I found out with my pools, which if anybody looks at Courtney Carr's presentation about a bioactive crab habitat from CrabCon last year, watching that video, I was like, wow, I really need to do something more with my water pools. So I watched the water portion of that maybe 20 times to set up my pools. And I found that, like with my saltwater pool, I made a ledge maybe an inch below the surface of the water. And if the crabs don't really like to submerge and actually go swimming, they spend an awful lot of time on that ledge. And I think that, like with the females especially, when they're traipsing around the tank, walking all over the place, they'll find that ledge, and I think that might encourage them to go into the water further to release the eggs rather than having a full drop off into water.
I think that we have just 2 minutes left. I don't know if we'll be able to stay if it ends. If we can't, I just want to invite all of you, please, to the Q&A for my breeding talk after it airs. If you want to come in there and help me answer questions with things that you have found that work or species that are different than what I've succeeded with, please do come in there. You can help me type and keep up with questions. That would be awesome. And I'm gonna scoot, but please finish and see if you can keep going. I just have to do a couple of administrative things. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Keep it on.
Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody else use UV lighting for their Zoea?
No.
No, I use an aquarium light for my Zoe, only because I don't have a UV light. If I had the setup for it, I would probably opt for the UV over the aquarium light.
Yeah,
I had UV purely by the sun coming in through the window in the laundry.
Yeah.
I didn't have any lights at all other than the sunlight.
Me too. Yeah, just natural daylight. And then I would use like a desk lamp to draw the Zoe to the edge for feeding. That helped to, for them to feed better.
yeah, like using lights was amazing. That's how when I was exchanging them from the salt from the pool to the new one, I would use a little flashlight on the side of the jar, and they would all gravitate towards that, and then I could scoop out 50 or 100 at a time, and that worked really, really well.
Yeah, it's also a good way to do a water change too, because you've got them all drawn over to the light, and then you can siphon out water on the opposite side of the tank.
Yeah. Yeah, which I actually got some cool video of that as well.
I didn't find mine were particularly reactive to the light. I tried that, but it didn't seem to make a great deal of difference.
Yeah,
Mine seems to behave a lot like a brine shrimp. So if you're breeding brine shrimp, they do travel towards the light, to get the food or whatever it is that they're doing. Mine did go towards the light, but in the room that I was trying to raise mine in, I don't have any windows. So the only light was the artificial light.
Yeah, see, mine was in the laundry, which has got a great big window in the thing, and it's quite a light, bright room. It's also quite warm in summer, so that's another reason why I put it there. And it didn't matter. The floor got wet.
Now, how long did you guys all have your crabs before they started mating?
About 7 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe my strawberries I had about a year, but I did get a rescue off of someone, and I had her maybe 6 months, and I got her with like a deformed leg from a bad molt, and she bounced back within 6 months, and she was the one that I actually filmed in my video that had the eggs.
That's awesome.
I had 2 for ages and ages, and then I added another 3 crabs to the tank, and it was probably 6 months after that I actually had the first lot of eggs. So I think it's got to do with numbers as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just as I said, I'd had the 2 for 3 years and hadn't had any eggs. And there was 1 female and 1 male. And one of the original ones was one of the ones that produced eggs. So I don't know, maybe they just didn't get along.
Yeah, my Indonesian blueberries, I had just gotten a small colony, and my female, she must have come in pregnant. I'm guessing she must have already had eggs. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and I got her maybe I'm not sure if it was the end of January or beginning of February, and that's an unusual time for Cenobita to mate too, and to actually have eggs.
That's really interesting. I had mine for a year and a half, and that's when they started to sort of show that mating behavior. But it wasn't until 2 years ago, when I'd had them for nearly 3 years, that they actually started to mate and produce eggs, and the babies
And then they just stop.
Yeah, and then they didn't stop.
Helena had so many lots of eggs, it was getting a bit embarrassing, wasn't it?
It was horrible. All 4 girls were gravid at the same time, and one would release eggs, and then she would get eggs again, and it was just this constant cycle. They were prolific. It was terrible.
I told her she needed to put McDreamy into ISO
Yeah.
to give the girls a break.
Have any of you ever noticed, I've had situations where I've had, most of the eggs are like a nice, bright, rich orange color. And then I've had clutches where they're real pale and almost more
Yeah.
of a pinky salmon color. Have you ever experienced that?
I have. I had one lot that looked like that, and it turned out that they weren't fertilized.
Oh.
So I don't know what it was like with yours, if they ended up, being viable, but mine weren't when they were that color.
That may very well be what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have yet to see females with eggs. I have yet to see mating behaviour as well. I'm a very hands-off person with my crabs. As I said, I didn't even know I had eggs until I saw stuff in the bottle. I thought, oh my God, what is that?
Wow. So you were really caught off guard.
I was totally, totally unprepared.
That's awesome
Absolutely.
that you were successful under those circumstances.
It wasn't the first time, it was the second time, and I was just as unprepared because I didn't know. But the female had started behaving strangely. And she would go to the edge of the pool and then go away and then go back. And so she'd been doing that for about 12 hours, and I was sort of getting a bit suspicious. And then we had the big storm, and voila, I actually saw those eggs probably half an hour after they were laid.
Wow.
Because I checked at midnight before I went to bed, and there was things swimming around in my saltwater pool again. Thank heavens for Natalie. She just, as you'll see in my talk, she just helped me through, and she's the other lady in Australia who has achieved success.
So what species of all of you guys hatched? I know you've done variabilis, right, Sue? And
Yep, that's all we've got.
You're variabilis?
Yes.
What about you?
Rugosus.
Okay. And then,
I've only had strawberries.
wow, that's great.
Actually, I'm actually thinking about talking to the guys. I buy my crabs at a shop in Brisbane, which is a 3-hour drive, but they keep them in good conditions, whatever. And I'm actually thinking of making a agreement with the guy. If he gets any females with eggs, which he may well do because of the conditions he keeps them in, I'll drive all the way up, get them and raise them, and then give him the female back.
That's great.
And any of the babies that he wants next time I go up. But I can't get into Queensland at the moment.
Now the borders are about to open, though.
Yes, but it's an hour drive for me from home to the border. But by the time I get about about 45 minutes up, I will be sitting in the queue for
Yeah, of course.
hours.
Yeah.
The queue's 20 kilometres long to cross the border.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's like 3/4 of the way from my place to the border is about where the queue starts, and then it's another 2 hours up to Brisbane. So I'm not going just yet.
So do any of you use filters? I saw Christy ask about filters and changing the pools. I don't use filters. I just use the air stones and change the water, about a third of the water at each change.
Yeah. I set up
You mean the babies?
I set up a saltwater fish tank originally, and the babies would get sucked up through the return vent. So then I put a real fine micron mesh net on it. But it's so much easier just doing little individual crabbitats and doing air stones, and then you're able to do frequent water changes, and I've had much better success that way.
Yeah. Just trying to see if there's any other questions here. But my screen seems to have frozen a bit.
I put a small version of this in one of my jars, and it's basically just very soft foam. It's a biofilter, and a whole pile of the babies got sucked up onto it and didn't survive. I killed everything in that jar. So something I learnt not to use. That was a filter. But I'll have to be careful because actually got a cycled 3 litre pool in my adult tank at the moment. So I'll have to check very carefully because that's got a filter and a little waterfall and stuff. So the babies won't survive that. Why filters don't work.
I'm just going to refresh my page for a second because I'm having some issues.
Bye-bye. Oh, look, she's gone. Us Aussies talk a lot, don't we?
Anybody else have anything?
Is it your tank behind you, Dan?
Yeah, this is 2 of them. We have a 55, which this is all rescue crabs. And we actually have one, which she's a monster in it. And then we have a 65-gallon tall over here. And then we actually have our crabby nursery, which actually there's 2 crabs currently mating in it. So let me try to take a walk over to that.
Crab porn.
If it works. I don't know if I can get, because I have to hold my.
Can't really see. I see a mirror.
And
Where are they?
Right up the back.
yeah, like in the corner right behind.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see them.
Are they in the crab pit?
Like behind
All
the
right.
flower pot. I don't know if you can see them. I'm trying to move it to different.
Are they in the clay pot there?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
No, behind the pot. Maybe.
Oh yeah, I see them now.
But this thing is pretty awesome for the last 2 days.
Are they tension rods in there, Dan?
Yeah, they
I've
are.
heard about them. Not seen them though.
Yeah, they're good. And then we just wrap them in.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, they're tension rods, and we just wrap them in jute, which we have them in all of our jutes.
Yeah, they offer so much different options. I might get some.
Yeah, our crabs love climbing on them all over. They're great.
So Helena's not coming back.
Yeah.
Just in chat. What time does the next?
Yeah.
Good heavens! It's 1:45 a.m. here.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't realise it was quite fun. I've been having fun.
Yep, it's amazing how you lose time talking about crabs.
I'm retired, so it doesn't matter.
It's worth it.
What time is it for you, Mark?
17:44. What's that?
5:44.
5:44 p.m.
Almost 6 p.m. I think.
On what day? Saturday?
What?
On Saturday?
Yes.
It's now Sunday morning here.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, I think I'm going to sign off now because it's almost lunchtime here. So
I'm going to go and watch Mary's thing at 2:00, and then I'll go to sleep, I think.
nice talking with all of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been interesting.
Yeah, good.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.